guys, welcome back. Okay, so many of you have been asking for the junk double build, and just some sort of junk double variant, because it's such a it's a big fan favorite where it's so nostalgic that you just want to play, simply because of the Yusei's like monster was junk Synchron, and Stardust and that type of synchro was just what initiates what you remember of synchro. Like it's just insane. Like, and if you already saw, okay, I'm incorporating paleo with junk Synchron because I tried taking the route where you have the whatchamacallit, like you have Valor in hand and then like use it and then Valor it, and then the following turn you just go junk and Doppel. But what I felt was like, I'm not sure if that was actually enough, because that means you for that sequence to work, okay, junk Doppel Valor, that gives you but you have to understand, we have to incorporate links. Of course we could go with the route of still have that initially, junk Doppel Valor, and still use the frogs, but it's another thing. It's actually not too much of a bad idea if you think about it that way. I just might try that next, because okay, so the frogs are level 2 and they all have synergy with junk Synchron, because junk Synchron brings back a level 2 or lower, and there's these little cool intricate plays that you can do where you can bring back Swap Frog, bounce Swap Frog as cost, and then pitch a frog, special frog. I really like that's pretty cool, the fact that you can do that, and it's pretty much, it's not as like as aggressive as a typical Quasar Synchro deck normally is, because in this build I'm not utilizing the dragons. I'm just pretty much just toolboxing your way into pretty strong synchros that are most relevant right now. Like Leo is pretty much like a Beal is pretty much. If you want to play Beals instead of this one, you can, but I just like this guy. This guy's big, and it's just really cool. It comes up a lot. And then Black Rose, and then just generic level 5s, attacks twice, and then prevent. They can't activate anything when you attack, so it's pretty cool. I like that. And then Excel formula, because I was not playing this, but it came up so much that I was like, I think I have to play this, because it came up so much. And then sometimes you could just go into into Omega with it, and I like that aspect of it. It's pretty cool. Or you just go into Leo. If you go make a level 8 and then Synchro and make a Leo, that's pretty cool. So pretty much as far as you can have noticed, you pretty much establish either you pretty much establish your back row and set Raikou, or you establish your frog setup, pass, set with a few back row, and then follow it up with a junk Synchron. Because like initially junk Synchron is not gonna be your initial play. It's gonna be like the completion to whatever it is that you already set up already. Because like there's not much you can really do if you start off with junk Synchron, because your 5s are not too threatening. So you kind of want to set up first. Like have your back row, have your frogs, set your Raikou, pass, and that's pretty much what you gotta do. Just establish, try to gather some sort of momentum, working off your grave, sending all the frogs to the grave, roll the totem, and send Paleos, so you can just flip everything and then just bring everything back and reoccur, and then overwhelm your opponent that way. And that's pretty insane. I really like that, and it just seems pretty cool. Like like every time I see charge and tuning, it just brings back so much memories, because back then you could just go instantly Librarian. Like the odds of you milling a level 1 tuner, it was just pretty much likely that you will. So that you had the formula and Librarian play, draw 2 instantly. That's pretty insane. And then hopefully draw into your quick draw level eater, and that just ended up your combo with like just infinitely better. And that was it's just really cool. But now we kind of have to pull it back, utilize links, and I mean it is possible. The frogs aid in that a lot, because there's such once you get your first totally on board, then it's already another frog. If it survives, that's another frog, and that's already free Mistar. It's a free Mistar boy pretty much, because you already plussed off the toad. The simple fact, well, I guess you even out when you summon a toad, but if you negate and then you take it, I guess it varies. But this is pretty cool. I like the fact that Raikou, like it just has so much synergy with the deck. it's, you have to understand, it's much more conservative. Whereas if you, like me as well, like it takes some time to get used to. Where I'm an aggressive player. I like doing things. Like I like just not waiting and just doing things. But this deck is much more conservative, where you have to kind of pull yourself back and kind of initiate sequences to disrupt your opponent, because it's a completely different playstyle compared to the synchro deck that you guys normally see me play. And look at that. The fact some of you can incorporate these two things is pretty damn good. Synchro and exceeds links, like that's so versatile. That's what you want your deck to be, and like pretty much that's what you want. You want your deck to be capable of getting yourself out of awkward situations with the cards you've chosen to be in the main deck. Because like side deck and games 2 and 3 vary because the matchup, depending on if it's your worst matchup, if you don't struggle against that matchup, that's gonna have a lot of influence as well. But more or less, the main deck, you want to have synergy. You want to make it as consistent as you can. Otherwise, you're on top of not being able to be versatile and get around awkward scenarios. You're already clashing with your deck itself, where it has breaking issues. This doesn't go with that card. This doesn't go with that. So you gotta make sure you don't want to combine those two mixtures together. You want to make sure they have synergy and they're versatile. And like it's hard to come by with to build a deck up like nowadays because of that. Because like archetypes are really linear. Everything is pretty much being condensed to a simple archetype, and you just change a few cards, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what it's come to, because you have to understand that that's much for business. That's much more better because it's like it's user friendly. It means that anyone can pick up the deck and just start playing it, and that's good for the game. But there's others where they want to be more creative, and it's kind of like, that's something you can't satisfy everyone, can't keep everyone happy. But it's just whatever sells pretty much. Because no, like if you have these awkward, versatile, complicated decks, not a lot of people can play it. There's going to be a lot of skill involved, a lot of experience that needs to be put into the deck itself, the strategy, the aspect of the entire concept of the deck. You need all that. Is a big factor of why Yu-Gi-Oh is turning the way it is and trying to slow it down, going too fast, because it's like it's like a double-edged sword where you want it to be linear, you want it to be as simplified as you possibly can, but at the same time, when you have that, when you make a powerful card, that means if it's simple, that means it's not really versatile because it does a specific thing and on a very narrow road. It's like, okay, you can't really wiggle your way out because the route that's been laid out it's so linear, so there's no room for innovation. So at times it can get a little bit stale, like Zoo, as you guys previously seen. Like Zoo, it was really like it was the same thing over and over again. There's few sequences that you could have done, but nothing too different where, oh dude, that's freaking crazy. And I guess it's good and bad. I mean, it's good for the game because more people can relate to it. It's much easier to understand. But bad for the people that want to be creative, because like, oh dude, so if I want to beat that deck is so consistent, meaning I have to use this that's like my rogue deck that's not really consistent, but it lets me have the creative output and input that I want to have within the game. So it's like, oh man, what do I do? So you know what I mean? So all this is a big factor in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think a lot of people don't really look into this, and it's a big thing. And that's pretty much where I come in. Or other YouTubers that come into it, I just try to make a different deck that's not like archetype based. It's just completely like, of course this is like you incorporate Paleo because it's already an archetype as it is. It's a strong enough standalone. At the moment it's not too hot because it like if it's pure Paleo, it's kind of, I mean, they've been doing pretty decent. But I think the simple fact that they're so conservative, and it's like a snowball of, like you have to get into the rhythm and then initiate an establishment. Otherwise, if you get like your setup disrupted, like if they end phase you or if they twisted you, if they put an excessive amount of force that you're just not ready for, especially if you open up like with like stuff that's not really a threat to the current meta, then it's like, okay, well, that's underwhelming. Because like as it is, when many of you think of paleo, you think of, okay, I'm gonna open up a totally and set my back row, and that's good enough to like to stall the game in order to like exactly what it is, snowball and slowly generate enough advantage to where you're just not minusing. But look at this junk Synchron dude coming in. Oh god, these little things are pretty cool. Look at that, that's pretty insane. This is what I mean though, like where it's too conservative. If you go in second, this is the only thing that's a bit of an issue, because once they're established, that means you're relying on your traps to keep you alive. But if that gets disrupted, an example, Twister, Cosmic Cyclone, for this instance, the trap, the pendulum, this one. See, like simple, that's gonna be a big blowout, because you're depending on your traps to keep you safe, but they can't. And this is the only trouble I was running into. So I think maining or I guess side will help, but I think maining cosmics or maining MSTs or maining some sort of disruption to stop this from happening, because this is a big issue. And if you can survive the first wave of this, then you'll be fine, because they can just, as long as your traps survive and they're active, that means you can chain, and then you're good from then. But this trap is just insane, dude. Like, it's just too good. Like, this is the only issue I was running into, where I noticed that. Let me put deck list. Okay, so here's the deck list. Okay, so it's pretty much you play 50 cards, not 40. I tried 40, and a lot of times I would just either like it was pretty damn close to comfort. So I felt like I needed to fit all these in, because when you say Reiko, you want to be able to protect it somehow, and not to let it go blown out of the way. So having negations and double cord, like these have synergy with Reiko, because if they're milled, then they're still live either way. So that's what I really liked about it. If you mill them, then it's fine, because they synergize. And 3 charge is like a blessing to this deck, man. It's like so good. You mill everything you want to mill, and then set your traps. Pretty much, it's pretty much paleo incorporated with synchro. If you guys seen the previous, I've attempted this build a while ago, where I just played junks, and that's pretty much it. If there was a way to incorporate Ryan, because I think Ryan will synergize much more with Totally, because all the frogs you banish off Ronin Totem, you can just with cryston Ryan, you can just put it back in the deck and recycle it, and pretty much have endless amount of frogs, and that's really cool. And like I said, I think having some sort of, like, let's say you're going against Pendulum, right? And they establish their trap first. I think having this in hand, like setting, let's say you set like 3 back row and a Reiko, and you pass, and then end phase you keep this in hand, and then Cosmic Gate away, and then that way you can your back row survives, and then you can survive yourself. You can survive for the following turn that your opponent's gonna just try to annihilate you. And I think either that or Ogre, but then Ogre doesn't stop it on activation, so I'm not too sure. But I think they either play this or it's just getting past that first wave of, okay, don't do anything to me end phase, because I'm gonna lose. Because Pela lose when you do end phase on them, and it's just pretty sad the way that is. But initially, that's what you want to do. Pretty much either set Reiko, set your traps, mill, draw junk, summon junk, and then or establish your frogs, and then pretty much just establish Totally, and then follow up with just synchros, and then just maintain the tempo with your traps. And that's pretty much that's as simply as I could break it down. These synchros is just the one that I've chosen, because you can easily make it. You can either make this you send junk, make a level 8 when you synchro with a Doppel, you get 2 tokens, that's Leo. Or you could just send Jet Synchron, it'll boost it, it'll be level 6 and plus tokens. It'll either be level 7 or level 8. And this is just when you summon junk, or when you have Black Rose and you have a Jet Synchron engraved, and then just doing it that way. And then plus, because you can bring them back, like all these synchros, you can bring them back, which is really cool. I really like that about that. And that's pretty much all there is to it. go ahead and try it out. Oh, and the reason I play 3 Ronin is because I want to hit as many frogs as I possibly can, because you can just bring it back in your way, and then you'd be surprised how often this gets milled along with this, and then you have one like in hand, and then you have like it makes sense to me. That's just the way I've been playing with it. It just makes sense to have 3, but of course you don't have to. You can just play 2. Just cut it for put it like a dark hole if you want. But that's gonna be it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.